Welcome to the London Eye River Cruise. We are going on board. If you have a Merlin annual pass, you can get 50% off the price of this. It's available on the website. Unfortunately, when we got on board, there was no space upstairs, so we had to sit inside. Although, a bit more comfortable seats, and you can still see a good view. So let's take a look. Enjoy this trip.
Will give you full instructions. The captain is located at the back of the boat on the upper deck. In order to keep their view of the river clear, please remain seated throughout the journey.
Hello everybody and welcome on board your London Eye River Cruise! Oh, that is the spirit, fantastic stuff. My name is Hannah and I'm going to be your tour guide today. I'm also joined by my wonderful colleagues Josh and Jordan downstairs, so should you need anything on our tour today, they're just at the top there, you can give them a wave. They're very friendly, you can ask them any questions. Now I'm just going to reiterate the most important of the safety announcements that you've just heard over our speakers, and that is if you are on the top deck with me today, please do remain seated throughout the duration of our journey. This is because we have our wonderful captains on board. You'll see they're in the wheelhouse behind you. You can give them a wave as well. That's Captain George. Now he's very good at his job, but he cannot see through you. So if you do stand up, you will be blocking his view of the river and the boats around us. So please, for your safety, do remain seated. If you do want to head downstairs at any point to go to the bathroom or to visit our bar, or if you just get a little bit chilly up top, you're welcome to do so. But other than that, please do remain seated. Now let's get on with the tour today, shall we? Now, straight ahead of us at the moment, as we turn round, you can see the wonderful lastminute.com London Eye, standing at 135 metres tall. This is the world's tallest cantilevered observation wheel. Now, it's a cantilevered observation wheel, firstly because it is supported only by one side, as you can see there. If it was supported on both sides, it would be known as a Ferris wheel, but that it is not. It has 32 fully enclosed observation capsules all the way around the side, one for every borough of London. But folks, please do not be alarmed if you find yourself in capsule 33. This is because we removed capsule 13 to avoid any sort of panic from our superstitious guests. Make sure everyone feels safe on there. If we can wave some people on these bridges. Make some noise at the top, guys. Get their attention. Hello! Oh. Excellent work, everybody. They've been waiting all day for that. They've all been stood there waiting to wave at you. Side now, everybody, you can see the south bank of the River Thames. Now, this is a beautiful place to go for a walk on a glorious sunny day like today. You can also see Royal Festival Hall. Now, Royal Festival Hall has its origins back in 1951 in the Festival of Britain, which was designed as a bit of a tonic to the nation after World War II. We wanted to cheer everybody up after a few grim years of war. Just next door, you can also see the South Bank Centre. Now, underneath the South Bank Centre, you will find the Undercroft, which is actually known as the home of skateboarding. It's where skateboarding originated back in the 1970s. It was the first purpose-built skate park. So it's a great place to go watch people do some tricks, get a bit of exercise if you're that way inclined. This building, you'll notice, also has a tower above it that seems to say the word OXO. Are we familiar with the company OXO, who makes stock cubes? A big company to make beef stock or gravy. Now, this building did once belong to them. It was their meat storage warehouse where they used to keep lots of beef cold before turning it into stock. And they did actually get into quite a bit of trouble back in the 1930s when they erected this tower. Now, the River Thames is a royal highway, which means that skyline advertising is illegal along the banks of the Thames. So when this tower was first put up, OXO were taken to court. And they were told, you can't have that tower there, you can't advertise on the Thames skyline. But luckily they did have a very clever lawyer who said, oh no, this isn't advertising. What we've done here is we've bought some randomly shaped geometric windows that we thought looked quite pretty. And we just put them in a sort of random arrangement that looked nice. And yeah, it kind of looks a bit like a circle and a cross and a circle, but it's nothing to do with the company at all. And there's no law in the UK that states what shape your windows can or cannot be. So miraculously they got away with that one. Very impressive lawyer there. Very, very sneaky. So they are now the only company to have skyline advertising on the Thames. They don't even own the building anymore, so they've absolutely lucked out there. Now straight ahead of us, guys, we are coming up to Blackfriars Bridge. We've got 2.5 bridges, Blackfriars. And you may notice as we get a bit closer that the pillars on the bridge are topped with birds. Now on one side of the bridge we have got saltwater birds or seabirds, cathedral in the world, second only to St. Peter's in the Vatican. And it's actually the 5th iteration of St. Paul's Cathedral. The 4th one famously burnt down in the Great Fire of London in 1666. I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get to the other side of this bridge here. See if we can get away from these policemen. Hello! Ah, friendly policemen, very nice. Of St. Paul's. Now, as I was saying, this is the 5th iteration. The 4th one burnt down in 1666. And when rebuilding St. Paul's, it was Sir Christopher Wren who was commissioned to rebuild a lot of the city, including this beautiful cathedral. And back in those days, in the late 1600s, early 1700s, what was very new and very exciting to us here in the UK were pineapples. We were absolutely mad about them. They'd just come over from the tropics. They were very rare and very expensive, and they were considered a sign of wealth. So in the original design, Sir Christopher Wren wanted to place a 60-foot golden pineapple right on top of the central dome there. Now, as you may be able to see, his designs didn't quite make the cut. They were vetoed. People said, Christopher, that's ridiculous. But Christopher couldn't let go. He really wanted those pineapples to be part of his central design. So you can see on the clock towers just coming into view there on your left, there are 2 6-foot tall golden pineapples. Bit of a compromise, but they still made it up there. Got Millennium Bridge coming up here, usually a very friendly bridge. Hello there! On your right hand side now, everybody, you can see a Tudor looking building, white building with a thatched roof. Now this may look like one of the older buildings along the River Thames. However, it was actually completed in 1997. This is a recreation of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Now the original was built in 1599 and only stood until 1613, when, you guessed it, it burned down. We love a burning building here in London. It was during a production of King Henry VIII when Shakespeare wanted to use the top technology to create sound effects in his production, so they used a live cannon to create the sound of thunder and lightning. But unfortunately, a live cannon with a live spark in a wooden building with a thatched roof just didn't really end very well. But I guess we can say that Shakespeare really knew how to bring the house down. A few groans up top, thank you very much, guys. It only gets worse from here. It's a wonderful place to catch a show, actually. Much Ado About Nothing's on at the moment. I saw it yesterday. It's very good. Only £5 for a standing ticket, if you want a bit of a recommendation. Coming up to the Lonely Bridge now. Never much footfall on Southwark Bridge here, but we've got one person to wave at. Hello! You all, so I hope you enjoyed that. Alright, now we do have a fabulous view ahead of us, guys. I am just going to remind you all, please, if you are up top, do remain seated to get your photos. I know it's the one you've been waiting for. It's the gorgeous, it's the stunning, it's the world famous London Bridge. It's right behind you. It's just there, we've just gone under it, that slab of concrete. But don't worry if you got it wrong, this bridge ahead is in fact Tower Bridge. But even Google Images gets it wrong. If you Google London Bridge, it will show you pictures of Tower Bridge here. Everyone gets very confused. Even Fergie, back in her 2006 song London Bridge, she's got shots of Tower Bridge in her music video. God, what's she like, Fergie? Can't take her anywhere. But before we get to Tower Bridge, guys, and you might have to squint, it is very camouflaged. There is in fact 11,500 ton battleship between here and Tower Bridge. I know it's hard to see. But this is the HMS Belfast. That's a very famous naval warship, very famous ship in the British fleet. It fired some of the original shots at the D-Day landings back in World War II. Those guns you can see at the front there are able to shoot up to a distance of 12 miles. And they are currently set to score a perfect hit at a service station on the M1. Nobody really knows why. Perhaps someone had a particularly bad sandwich there, I don't know. But there you go, hopefully they won't be firing anytime soon. Now, it did have a very impressive naval career, this ship. Water traffic is always precedent over road traffic in London. So if you do happen to have a tall ship that you want to bring into the Thames, all you have to do is give them 24 hours notice and they will raise the bridge for you. Now, it does look very old, this bridge, a lot older than it actually is. As I said, it was opened in 1894. But the Victorians designed it to look similar to the Tower of London, which you can see on your left now. They wanted it to kind of blend in with that sort of stonework. But the Tower of London was actually built many years earlier, back in 1066. So there's quite an age gap there between these two monuments. Now, guys, I have actually been preparing all this tour for this moment. There's a legend that states we'll get 5 years of good luck if we can get any sort of away from Tower Bridge. So let's see what we can do. Excellent work, guys. 5 years luck for everybody. Now, this legend stems from the Edwardian times. Back in the day, this would have been the final bridge that sailors would see when they were heading out to sea, for sometimes upwards of 5 years. So the legend goes that if you could get a wave from friends or family on the bridge on your way out, fingers crossed in 5 years' time, when you were returning, they would still be waiting here for you, ready to welcome you home. Now, we're going to turn around now and you will get a fabulous view of the Tower Bridge with the beautiful city skyline behind it. So I remind you to remain seated and also to use the correct hashtags. Hashtag London Eye River Cruise. Hashtag Tower Bridge, not London Bridge. Hashtag Get It Right, Fergie. Now, the port we're turning around in here did actually used to be a very busy fishing port. The building Butler's Wharf to our right here was an old spice warehouse. Used to be a thriving port here. Apparently back in the day you didn't even need a bridge to cross the river. It was so busy with boats you could just hop from boat to boat and get all the way to the other side. But as we're getting our fabulous view of Tower Bridge here, I will tell you my favourite story about this bridge. Back in the 1950s, there was a bus driver by the name of Albert Gunther who was driving his bus, the number 78, across Tower Bridge on his normal bus route. But it was a particularly foggy day and he didn't notice the stop sign warning him that the bridge was about to be opened. And as he was driving across, he quite worryingly felt the bridge rising beneath him. So he had two options in this instance. Was he going to try and come to a halt in time, or put his foot down and take the fast and furious approach? Well, that's exactly what he did, folks. He put his foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and he managed to make the jump of the 12-foot gap that had opened up beneath him. Jumping 12 foot in a double-decker bus, guys, pretty crazy. And he landed the bus with everyone on board safe and was hailed a hero. He was sent home, given a day off. Got 10 quid, which I'm told was quite a lot of money back in the day. And there was even a couple on board whose wedding was coming up, and they invited Albert to join them for the wedding, and he even drove the couple to the wedding in the very same double-decker bus. So there you go, we'll have a happy ending. To the Traitors' Gate. Now, this used to be a tunnel here, the world's first one-way system. Because if you went through this tunnel, you were not coming out again. This is where they would take the traitors into the tower to be executed. Of course, the tower is most famous for being a place of torture and execution. Now, it was actually considered a privilege. You had to be royal in order to be executed inside the tower. So most notably, executed in the tower, Catherine Howard and Anne Boleyn, some wives of King Henry VIII. Now, the only person to be executed in the tower that was not a royal was Guy Fawkes. Now, he was known for trying to blow up Parliament back in 1605. But they let him know that he wasn't a royal by torturing him for three weeks prior to execution. Couldn't have been a good 3 weeks for him. Tower Hill. And the last public execution to take place on Tower Hill was in 1868. But the London Metropolitan line of the London Underground opened in 1863. So a little fun fact, there was a period of 5 years where you could take the tube to go and watch someone be executed. I say it's a fun fact, so it's not fun for the person being executed, but I think it's interesting. Let's see if I can get back up without any feedback. And we're back. On your left-hand side now, everybody, you can see a very tall building. This is the Shard. It is, in fact, the tallest building in the UK and will remain so. It's 309 metres tall, and that is the tallest that any aviation laws in the UK allow us to build. So we won't ever be able to have a taller building than this. It's going to hold that title for a very long time. Inside, you've got a Shangri-La hotel, you've got offices, and you've got some very fancy apartments as well. I'm told an apartment at the top of the Shard will cost you upwards of £43 million. So there you go. If you are looking to buy an apartment at the top of the Shard, my name's Hannah. I'm looking for a flatmate. Now, I said some mean things about it earlier. I called it an ugly slab of concrete, but London Bridge is actually the OG bridge, the original bridge across the river. There has been a bridge on this site for over 2,000 years. Not this one specifically, of course, but just a bridge here. See if we can get some waves. Hello! Little thumbs up there, very nice. It would be so rammed with animal traffic, horses and carts, with vendors on the bridge, and just with people as well, all trying to get from one side to the other. It was also lined with along them as a sort of gruesome warning that people shouldn't cross the King. Now, we're not going to get many waves from this bridge here, Cannon Street Railway Bridge, as it is a railway bridge, but there we go, not the prettiest bridge across the river if you ask me. On the contrary, we've got what I think is the prettiest bridge across the river here, is Southwark Bridge. Now, Southwark Bridge is also known as the Lonely Bridge. It gets the lowest footfall of any bridge across the Thames. It connects nowhere really very interesting to nowhere interesting, and Google Maps generally avoids it, so anyone up there is probably lost. Any waves we get from this bridge are usually a cry for help. Oh, do you know where you are? It's also the only bridge across the river to still be lit by gas lamps, so it's very beautiful at night. And it's also known as the Disney London Bridge. If ever Disney need London Bridge in a film, they're obliged by Walt Disney's wishes to use Southwark Bridge instead, because it's prettier. Now, straight ahead, we are coming up to Millennium Bridge. Now, this bridge won a competition to be the new landmark in London for the millennium. But when it opened back in the year 2000, it only lasted 2 days before having to be closed again. 160,000 people came to walk across this brand new bridge, and they noticed it had quite a serious wobble to it. People were falling over, people were feeling very nauseous, people were throwing up over the side of the bridge, which is terrible news if you're on an open top boat, guys. Hope you've all brought hats. It's a very wibbly wobbly bridge, and it had to close for 2 years. And they had to get a NASA engineer involved to fix this wobble. Any waves from these wibbly wobbly people? Hello! Please don't be sick on us. Now, coming past St. Paul's Cathedral again on your right hand side now, guys, you might notice that the skyline is a lot lower around here. And this is because there is a law that states that there are 8 points around the city from which the dome of St. Paul's must be visible, and some of them are quite far away. So not only does this explain the lower skyline here, it also explains some of the rather strange shapes of our skyscrapers here in London. For example, the one on your left-hand side here, very tall building there, number 1 Blackfriars, has many nicknames here in London. Some call it the cocktail shaker, some call it the boomerang, the baby bump, the Kim Kardashian. I'll let you. So rather counterproductive. So faced with this dilemma, the construction workers did what any good construction workers would do. They painted the columns red gave them a grade 2 listing and simply hoped no one would notice them. And we point them out 10 times a day, so I'm not sure how well that one's worked. On your right hand side here, guys, you can see a lot of construction. You might be thinking, what's going on here? Is it a new tube line? Is it a brand new fancy pier? But it's far more exciting than that, everybody. This is our new sewage system, yeah! Known as the Super Pooper. Apparently the pipes of this sewage system are big enough that you could drive 2 double-decker buses side by side along these sewage pipes. And you thought your commute was bad. This version of Waterloo Bridge was built by almost an entirely female workforce as the men were away fighting. On an unrelated note, it's also the only bridge across the river to have been built on time and under budget. So make of those facts what you will. Shout out to my ladies. Hello! Also on your right hand side you can see a building with a green roof and a Union Jack. This is the Savoy Hotel, built by Richard Doyley Cart to match his Savoy Theatre. It's the first purpose-built deluxe hotel here in London. It's been frequented by many famous people: Marilyn Monroe, Charlie Chaplin, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, all stayed there when it's safe to start leaving. But obviously we can't leave without talking about this beautiful building ahead on the right. The new Palace of Westminster, also known as the Houses of Parliament. Got some very famous clock towers, or clock towers on this building, one of which is a clock tower. Do we know the name of the clock tower, guys? Big Ben. Ah, it's a good guess, but I'm afraid I've tricked you. This is the Elizabeth Tower. It is in fact the bell, the 13.5-ton bell inside the tower that is known as Big Ben. Apparently it was named after Sir Benjamin Hall, who was the Chief Commissioner of the Works at the time that the bell was installed. Apparently he was a very loud, very round man, and clearly not very nice to his co-workers, as when they looked at the 13.5-ton bell, they thought, hey Ben, that looks just like you. So it's a bit of a lesson there, be nice to your co-workers. Also on your right hand side here, guys, you can see a building with some green roofs and flags on it. This is the Ministry of Defence. Now the Ministry of Defence took actually quite a bit of issue when we were building the London Eye back in 1999. They took the London Eye to court, saying it was a security risk to build it here, that spies would go on the London Eye, go all the way to the top, get their binoculars that they've got from the gift shop, and look through the windows of the Ministry of Defence and steal all of their security secrets. So this was a real court case that took place in 1999, and I'm quoting the judge here when I say, "You are the Ministry of Defence. Buy some curtains." So that was overturned fairly quickly. But it's good news for us because it means we have the London Eye still standing today.
I hope that you have enjoyed this. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel and smash a like on the video. Thank you for the lady who's doing the commentary. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.